You the melody, the words, you the chorus. You gladly laid your life down for us. For all the blessings that you bring, Lord of lords and King of kings, we will let our voices ring. You're the only song we ever want to sing. You're the only song I ever want to sing. You're the only song I ever want to sing. You're the only song, the only song. You're the only song I ever want to sing.
Christian Music Spotlighted is the stories and testimonies behind the songs of your favorite artists here in Christian music. Thanks so much for watching our season premiere later on this season. Throughout the fall and winter months, we have all your favorite artists joining us, including David Dunn, Plum, Rhett Walker Band, and including some footage we recorded back at the Benton County Fairgrounds in Kennewick for Creation. We have a very special guest joining us for our season premiere of Christian Music Spotlight. He is no stranger to our show, and as a matter of fact, the last time he was here, the past couple of times, he was the lead singer of The Exchange. Right now, he is on a solo project. He'll be releasing an EP later on called Saving Grace. He just released a brand new single late August called Make Your Home. Please welcome a friend of the program, Mikey Moore. Mikey, how are you?
Doing well. Yeah, how are you?
Good. Thanks for taking the time out to join our program and share a little bit more of your stories and your thoughts with our viewers. And tell us about this latest single you released, Make Your Home, back in late August, and the inspiration behind that particular song.
Yeah, so Make Your Home was kind of an idea that I started out with, and just about, Jesus making a home inside of you. And then I have a friend in Nashville, Tennessee, named Bryson Brakey, and he kind of helped me flesh out the idea of using our hearts kind of in the sense that it's like using furniture, and the idea of furniture in a cabinet and mantles and things you place things in, that you place your desires and your fears and things that you want inside different places, and you rearrange your furniture how you want it, and the idea that really what we need is Jesus to come inside our homes and rearrange the furniture and put it how he wants it. And so that's kind of been the heart behind the song, and just allowing Christ to reshape and reform your heart.
I love the premise behind that song, and when you released it, I love the little hashtag that went along with it, allowing Christ, and so that was excellent. The other single, of course, that you've released that will eventually lead to a full-fledged EP here soon is Saving Grace.
Yeah.
What was the thoughts behind that one?
Well, with Saving Grace, it was kind of just a chorus that came to my head as I was driving. A lot of times choruses come into my head, just driving, take on my iPhone, which is probably bad, but I recorded on my little voice memo thing. But this chorus came in my head, and then again with Bryson, we sat down and kind of said, what do we want this to be about? And wrote out some verses, and it kind of came to this conclusion. And I have a video journal that went along with the single, and basically using the idea in my life when I was struggling in my teenage years with pornography and lust, and a lot of guys go through that kind of a thing, and I found that the grace that I found through Jesus, when I was at the point where I couldn't carry any of my own burdens on my own, I felt like I had to hide my sin, and when I looked and I started reading the Bible and looking for grace and looking how grace is used, there was a verse that talked about how grace is beautiful and not to be trampled on. And I had been trampling on grace and using grace as, God's going to forgive me, it's okay, And even though I did want to change, and I think there's a difference between being in sin and knowing you're in sin and not wanting to change, and being in sin and wanting to change. I think there's a huge difference. And I was wanting to change, but I was still using grace as like, okay, I'm forgiven. It's okay, I'll work on it. But when I found that grace, the verse about grace is beautiful, not to be trampled on, that is what the song of Saving Grace is really based upon, is like, when I ran and I turned and I'm sinning against you, your grace already is seeking me out. And that's a beautiful thing.
And man, I think that strikes a realism to a lot of different people, a lot of different things we want to be freed from and escape from. And sometimes we kind of take that grace for granted, that it is there, but we never know when we'll get that when our name is going to be called.
Yeah.
And I think every believer out there wants to hear the words, "Well done, good and faithful servant." And I think just finding those ways, using grace effectively to help remove those roadblocks that we struggle and that we stumble with. And I think some of these songs just picture that real honesty and helping people overcome whatever it is that they're going through and kind of giving them that hope at the end of the tunnel.
Yeah.
What's that transition been like for you as far as, year or two ago, being a member of the Exchange, a full-fledged band, to the solo project venture that you're on now? What's the transition been like for you, and how's that all been?
Yeah, it's been an interesting transition. I think anytime anybody would go from doing one thing to completely switching gears and doing another thing is always a difficult change. There's the switch has been great. I think actually more in a great way liberating for both sides, the Exchange and me, because I think I've wanted to more dive into, doing Saving Grace and Make Your Home was like pop and stuff like that, but I want to dive into doing worship and that kind of a sound. And the Exchange was more rock, and so I think it was a great split, because now I'm able to create music that I feel like is important to me and can make it the sound how I want and can make decisions on my own. And then I can also bring my wife along with me, and we can do more ministry together. And so the transition has been hard, but at the same time, very rewarding. And probably the best decision and switch in my music that has happened so far. So,
Mikey Moore joining us right here on the season premiere of Christian Music Spotlight. How has your songwriting evolved? You mentioned a moment ago that when you're songwriting, things can inspire you, at the drop of a hat. What type of things inspire you to write songs? Is some of it scripture-based? Is it real-life experiences? Is it a combination of both? And how has your songwriting evolved back from then up until now?
Yeah, well, I think with the songwriting, with changing from then until now, from being in the band until now, I think I've realized that I want to go into a deeper form of writing, hitting topics that are practical and really relevant to what's going on right now. And the grace thing is very relevant right now and very needed to be talked about. I have told other people earlier, like a couple weeks ago, I was talking with somebody, and how grace is talked about a lot, but it's not used a lot. We talk about it in church, but then, we'll see somebody and judge them instantly. And it's like, it's this idea that grace is there and we want to believe in it and we want to put our hope and faith in grace, but we don't actually walk in it. And so I want to write more topics about, and like the idea of make your home, how, people don't normally hear about your heart being like a home, of furniture and stuff. And I want to create imagery that is easy to understand, because it's not complicated, but easy to understand, but hits topics that are very relevant and needed to be heard today.
I think it's wonderful in the fact that he lives within the inside of us. And I think to be able to relate that to people in a way that they can understand, in a way that, it makes sense, the light bulb goes off. That's very important to a lot of people. And I like the fact that you're kind of calling the church to practice what they preach, so to speak. Yeah. Walk out the walk out that love walk, don't judge a brother when you've got a log in your own eye. That grace works both ways. Yeah. And so I think it's very wonderful in the fact that that type of music, honesty, is out there, because I think in times like this, as you mentioned, it's a lot of what believers need to be able to kind of serve as that constant reminder. Mikey Moore joining us here on Christian Music Spotlight, a great friend of the program. A little time for a little segment we like to call Fun Fast Facts, a chance for you to find out a little bit more about your favorite artists, some things you may not know. You're from the Northwest, of course.
Of course, yes.
Favorite Northwest hangout? Do you have a place you like to go to Northwest, either to sightsee or to just hang out?
There's, I think there'd be two. One's kind of I can only go every once in a while because it's kind of a jaunt, but there's a place in Seattle called Storyville Coffee Company. They're brand new. but we have a friend that works in at Storyville, and my wife used to work for him. But they're a great coffee place, and they're actually going to open one on Bainbridge Island. But right now they're just in Seattle, and so go and hang out. That's like an every once in a while make a trip because it's a ferry ride and long ways. But at home, man, you know what? It's not really a hangout spot. Me and my wife are having more people over to our house. And going to other people's houses, and going back to, instead of going out and doing things, to having a meal together or having a meal with other people. And I know that sounds kind of cheesy, but yeah, I think it's more fun sometimes doing activities together than just, hey, can we get some coffee? You know,
sort of a lost art in today's
it is.
society.
I mean, it's funny because
hustle and bustle and
yeah, and it's so sad. So I would say it used to be coffee shops. Now it's more in the home and doing activities that other people like to do.
Favorite television program that you like to sit at home and enjoy when you get that opportunity?
Okay. So me and my wife are huge Netflix people. We love watching Netflix. And so the two shows that we've really been watching that we're really sad because it only ends, at a certain season. They don't have every season, is a show called White Collar, which I love the show White Collar.
Yeah.
And we're waiting for the new season. And then we just finished a show called Continuum, which is a Canadian show.
Oh.
It's a Canadian time travel show, and it is phenomenal. Yeah.
I'm going to have to check that one out.
It's
I'm
good.
very familiar with White Collar, but
Yeah.
Continuum I've not checked out
Yep.
yet. If we were to peer into your iPod or CD player or however it is you listen to music, what might we find you listening to these days on it?
Oh, man. So the two people I'm listening to a lot of is Switchfoot, which sounds like everybody listens to Switchfoot, but their new Fading West album was awesome.
Yes.
I loved it. And a new band that I just discovered is Stephen Curtis Chapman's sons have a band, and they're called Colony House. And they're phenomenal. They're based out of Nashville, and they're just so good. Yeah, I just can't stop listening to their CD.
When you're looking through the vast word, is there a person or a specific character in the Bible that you find yourself at times closely identifying with?
Yeah, I really identify with Paul. Not in so much the persecution that he faced, because I've never been stoned and other stuff like that. But I think because he traveled, and a lot of musicians travel. And I would say that a lot of musicians could probably identify with Paul. But I feel like in the last 5 years, even doing the band and outside of it, I've been doing a ministry where I will go to a church and I'll fill in as a worship leader when a worship leader is sick or they're on vacation, and they'll call me, and I'll come fill in, work with their band, play that morning, and then go home. And so there's like 8 or 9 different churches that I've done over the last 5 years that I've been connected to that will call me and say, hey, we need somebody. And so I feel like Paul in the Bible went and encouraged churches. That's what he did. Yeah. He would go to each church and encourage them, give them words of encouragement and advice. And I feel like I'm being able to do that, where I'm able to go to a church and bring my ministry and some things that I've had on my heart to that church, and travel around doing that.
That's awesome.
Yeah, so Paul is a good one.
Mikey Moore joining us here on the season premiere of Christian Music Spotlight. You can, of course, catch us every Sunday night at 8:30 and Tuesday morning at 8:30 on TCTV Channel 22. And hello to our Metro East Portland family, Sundays at 11 a.m. You'll catch us on there as well, and also youtube.com/Christ Music Spotlight. Mikey Moore joining us. He has a new project, Make Your Home. It is on Noise Trade, I believe, right now. You can go and download and pick that up. I highly encourage it. And so what does the future hold for you? We all know what you've been up to lately. Have you thought as far as into the future? We know there might be an EP down the road. What type of things might you be working on down the turnpike here?
Yeah, I'm kind of dabbling a little bit in a few areas. So I've got the solo thing that I'm doing, and I'm still going to make, I'm actually shooting to try to make a 6 to 8 song album, maybe EP album thing. And that's going to be, was shooting for this year, but as you know, things change. And so I'm shooting for now early to mid next year, having an album. But I'm working with a guy named Brandon B. and a church in Vancouver called Crossroads Community Church. And yeah, he's a great guy. And it's called The Responding. And so it's an artist, worship artist collective that we're writing music. We're actually coming out with a record either this year. I think it's either this year or early next year. We're coming out with a record called The Responding, I believe. And so I've been working on that, writing, being part of that writers group. And then I have a song on that record too that will probably be on the record that I'm doing. So kind of dabbling in that, dabbling in my own solo stuff, and then doing the ministry that I've been doing with other churches.
Very cool. And it's interesting to see where his heart and his ministry have taken him all the way to, that was Italy.
Yeah, and then now he's in Vancouver. Yeah, yeah, he's full-time at a church in Vancouver now.
Yeah, that's crazy.
Yep.
Mikey Moore joining us. When people leave one of your worship services, you may be performing at a nearby church or maybe just attending one of your shows. What's one of the main messages of hope that you want them left with when they leave one of your shows? How do you want them impacted?
Yeah, I think the main goal and that I want to leave is if somebody comes to a service and they've encountered the presence of God, that's the goal. I mean, if they come, I want them to know that when they can come broken, they can come hurt, they can come with joy, they can come with any emotion they want, and that it's an open environment to lay things at Christ's feet and encounter God and His presence. And if they leave encountering God, then that's the goal of what I want people to come and be able to experience.
For people to be able to find out more about you online and perhaps social media, where they can find your music, what places can they do so?
Yeah, well, I've got an Instagram, a Twitter, and a Facebook, so they're kind of the average John. You can find me at Mikey Moore Band, Facebook.com/Mikey Moore Band, Twitter.com/Mikey Moore Band, and Instagram/Mikey Moore Band. And then you can also find all the music on iTunes.
iTunes, and it'll still be on Noise Trade, I believe, as well for the foreseeable future?
Yep. For the next, I think I'm going to leave them up for the next couple months, allow people to get them, and then I'll probably switch it out.
Nice. Mikey Moore here joining us on Christian Music Spotlight. You, of course, can find his music on Noise Trade and iTunes, and just about everywhere you search Mikey Moore Band, you'll be able to find him on Twitter, Instagram, and Facebook, and all those other different platforms of social media. Mikey, it's been great to have you on the program. It's been great chatting with you. And much continued success and blessings to you for taking some time out of our program and sharing your heart and your music, and just that we appreciate the honesty and just the realism in your music and helping to reach a new generation of believers, especially here in the Northwest for Christ. And so thank you for everything you're doing, and keep doing what you're doing. It's been exciting following your success.